We are very excited because Oprah, and you know there's only one, is here to reveal her newest book club selection. We love when this happens because it only happens on CBS Morning. So Oprah, drum roll, please.
Okay.
What did you select?
It's called A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle.
I know how much she loves this book, and A
Yes.
New Earth, Tolle's message is, quote, there is a way out of suffering and into peace. His writing explains how we can transcend unhappiness and live a more fully present life. So this is A New Earth's second appearance on Oprah's book club. What? It was first selected back in 2008. So this makes it the only book to have been selected twice. Look at you guys back then.
Look at us back then.
The only book to be selected twice in the club's 28-year history. Oprah, I love this picture, Oprah, and Eckhart Tolle are here with us. Good morning to you, Eckhart Tolle, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I know this is a big deal for you, Oprah, because you never do this, but I remember when you first read this book years ago, she would call people up and read portions of the book, and we go, translate, please, translate, please. But why did you decide that now is the time? Because you know what's interesting to me, guys, is this book is still relevant today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it'll be relevant forever because I think as we live in a world where there is consistent chaos,
yes,
it's more important now than ever before to find your own inner peace and to be aware of your contribution to what makes peace in the world. And you can only do that through truly understanding yourself versus your ego and not acting out of your ego. And the reason why I've chosen it for the second time, is because this book actually had probably, I say this, more effect on me than any other living author. It changed the way I looked at myself, the way I looked at the world. It changed my decision-making process. It changed the way I operated in my personal life and my business.
How did it do that?
Well, first of all, recognizing, the main theory is that you are not your thoughts. And so removing yourself from understanding that the constant voice in your head that's constantly trying to tell you everything, that's going on all the time. We all have that voice in our head.
Yes.
And being able to separate yourself from that, to know that you're not the thoughts in your head, you are the awareness of the thoughts in your head.
That's fascinating.
And to operate from the space of awareness and let the thoughts do their thing and you just observe the thoughts. And so what it allowed me to do, what A New Earth did for me, is allowed me to not make any decisions without thinking about, is this my ego? Or is this my true self?
Yes.
And any decision that I've ever made out of ego, I ended up in crisis or ended up in some kind of problem and trying to figure it out later. So
I now ask this question in my head, but I'm curious for you, Eckhart Tolle, how you figured this out for yourself. What was happening in your life? What was going on in your life?
Well, in my 20s, I suffered from depression and other psychological dysfunctions. I became very unhappy person. And I was 29 years old one night when I considered suicide. I couldn't live with myself any longer. So this thought came into my mind, I cannot live with myself any longer. It was just too painful. And when this thought came into my mind, I suddenly stepped back and said, well, wait a moment, what did I just think? I cannot live with myself. Then are there two of me? Who or what is the self that I cannot live with? So I discovered there's the self, which is the ego, conditioned by the past, with many dysfunctions, making me unhappy. But there was a deeper identity that was the I that Oprah just mentioned, that's consciousness itself. And when you step back from your ego, which is identification with thinking, you step back from your ego, you realize that you are not your thoughts. There's a deeper dimension in you that is, ultimately, that's the spiritual dimension in you. So you step back from your thoughts and realize I am much vaster than my thoughts.
So let's try to put it into practice.
Yes.
You say in the book that the source of unhappiness is never the situation, it's your thoughts about the situation.
Yes, that's a very important point. I often recommend people should verify that in their own experience. For example, when you find yourself in a situation and you become irritated or angry, ask yourself, is it the situation that is causing me to feel irritated or angry? Or is it my thoughts about the situation, the narrative in my mind that tells me this is too awful situation, I can't stand it anymore. So let's say you go to the airport, there's a long delay, there's a lineup. Oprah doesn't have that experience. So there's a long lineup, and you get very irritated and angry. Ask yourself, am I angry because of the situation, or how would I experience this situation if I did not add any thoughts to it?
Yeah.
If I had just allowed myself to be.
I just accepted it.
One of the things I also learned from A New Earth and Eckhart is that all stress is wanting the situation you're in to be something that it's not. And the moment you can just accept, I'm going to be late.
Yes.
The line is
Right.
That's why you say it's changed your life.
The moment you just
she
accept,
practices
I'm gonna
that
be late.
today.
That's it.
It is what it is.
Oprah and Eckhart Tolle.
Acceptance of the present moment.
Acceptance
That's
of the
right.
present moment.
We're going to
Instead of-
accept the present moment that we're up against a hard wall. We congratulate you, Oprah. Thank you. Thank you, Eckhart Tolle. Only on CBS Mornings, we are revealing Oprah's newest book club selection. She said to us that this book changed her thinking. We sat down with Oprah and the author to talk about why she liked it so much. Here's that conversation. We are so excited. This is my excited face to have Oprah, as in Winfrey. There's only one in our studio, to announce her latest book club selection. Drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
All right,
It's
Oprah.
called
Winfrey, what is it?
Dream State by Eric Puchner. I am so happy to be able to announce this book.
I'm so excited to talk about this book because Dream State takes place over the course of 50 years in rural Montana. It follows a young bride who decides to leave her picture-perfect husband, that's in quotes, after falling in love with his best friend. What? Despite the betrayal, the three remain intertwined in each other's lives. Eric Puchner, we're happy to say, and Oprah is here. Good morning, good morning. Congratulations to you, Mr. Eric Puchner. And this is what I learned for the first time sitting here with you and Oprah. Because I was saying, oh, I like your suit. She said, I picked out the suit to what?
Match the book cover.
Yes, one does. Do you approve?
I'm so honored. I can't believe it. I'm saying I really made it now.
Now, I am always fascinated by Eric, by anything that involves betrayal, but certainly betrayal among best friends. So I was surprised that you would pick a book about betrayal about best friends. I love reading this kind of stuff.
Well, one of the reasons I really appreciated Dream State so much is because there's this point in everybody's life where you make a decision, and that decision changes the course of your life, right? And what if you had made the other decision? What if you'd chosen to marry the other guy? What if you had not married the person that you're with? Everybody, I think, at some point gets cold feet. I remember you telling me when you were many years ago, getting married, that your mother said,
How do I know?
How do I know? And your mother said, oh, you're just having cold feet. And so I think that this brings that story into full focus about what if you'd made another choice.
But the thing is, guys, this is more than just cold feet. She actually married the man and then ends up with his best friend. Eric, where does that story come from?
I think, Oprah, what you're saying about making a decision and possibly wondering if it was the right decision and then living the rest of your life thinking about this sort of ghost life that you could have lived, I think it's very seductive to think that life is elsewhere and to fall through the trapdoor of regret.
Yes.
I think.
Ooh, that's a good
But that doesn't mean
Isn't that
that
good, the
it does
trapdoor
not
of
mean that
regret?
you would have been happier living this other life. You may have been just as happy, or you may have been less happy.
What it
There's no way
says
to
is that
really
we
know.
can make a decision and you can make happiness wherever you are.
Yes, I think part of that happiness is not falling through the trapdoor of regret and accepting that this is the decision I made and not dwelling on the other possibility.
And can I just say up front, your lovely wife is here watching us at this time. You have not fallen through the trapdoor of regret.
No.
And you and your wife are very happy. This is not a personal story for you.
Not at all in
And
that
she's a
respect.
novelist. Tell us her name.
Catherine Noel is
Yes.
a wonderful, wonderful
I want to read
novelist.
Catherine's book, yeah.
Yes.
But, so this has nothing to do with your own marriage, because whenever I read these kind of books, I think, is it something they can relate to in their own personal lives?
One of the reasons why I, too, was drawn to the book Dream State is because it is in a dream state. It's set in the dream state of Montana, and I know that
Which is a character in the books.
Yes, which is its own character in the book. I've loved Montana since the river runs through it, I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, I adore Montana, and Catherine and I have been going to Montana for the past 25 years and staying at a particular house, which is a house that's in Catherine's family.
And that's the house that's in this story.
And it's the house it's not the actual house, but the house in Dream State is based on a real house that I adore.
Yeah, and I don't want to give the story away because right up until the end, you keep us guessing right up until the end, because I kept thinking, the book looks like it's about to end, but I still don't know the answer to fill in the question that I had during the whole book. How were you able to keep them still friends after 50 years? I was really fascinated by that.
I think friendship is really complicated, and I think that one thing I haven't read enough of in fiction are stories about male friendship. And so I was very interested in this male friendship. Charlie and Garrett, who are the two of the main characters, have been best friends since college, and they form this powerful bond. And then there's this profound betrayal. And so I was fascinated by how that might play out over 50 years.
Yeah, I love this story because whether you're Gen Z or millennial or you're my generation, there's something for everyone. I was talking to your producer, who is of the Gen Z generation, who recently married, was saying that she related so much to the story. And I loved having the opportunity to talk to you about it.
I love the book, Eric. Congratulations. But before you go, I always like to know how people reacted when you got the call. Where were you?
I was in my office, which gets horrible cell reception, so I had to go out into my car. I was kind of grumbling about it because it's this kind of depressing parking lot at Hopkins, and I was sitting in my car, hunched over, and then I get this phone number comes up on the screen that I've never seen before, and I answer it, and it's Oprah Winfrey. And I was just so flabbergasted. I was astonished.
Yes. Not only that, but I get the books ahead of time. I get the reading proof copies, and I called you later to say, I think there's a couple of errors here because you're telling the story and you're saying that he's this age, but at the wedding he was that age, and he goes,
You found errors in the book? Of course you did.
It was an early galley.
It's an early galley. He goes, okay, that's been corrected, Oprah.
Okay.
It's been corrected. Yes, thank you.
Good thing Oprah's on the case. Congratulations, Eric, and thank you,
very
Oprah.
much.
Dream State is on sale now. You can go to wherever you like to buy your books, but you can go to cbsmornings.com for a reader's guide and a free excerpt from the book, and get Eric Puchner's conversation with Oprah on the Oprah podcast, available now on YouTube or wherever you go to get your podcast. You can tell that Oprah was a good student in school. She's catching errors in the galley and pointing them out.
Right.
Hey,
It's a very good read.
Good habits, and sounds like a good book.
Yes, yes, yes. Oprah's here. There's only one to reveal her newest book club selection, only on CBS Mornings. I have to say, we love when that happens. So, Oprah, drum roll, please. Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. Thank you. The book is called The Tell.
The Tell.
The Tell by Amy Griffin.
And you chose it, why?
I chose it, well, first of all, because...
Well, Amy Griffin is here.
Amy Griffin is here. I chose it. You know why I chose it. You were reading it, and I said, and you were telling me about it, and I said, that's a book that I should be reading, so give me that book right now.
And she took it from, but normally when I'm reading something I recommend it, she doesn't pay any attention to me.
That's
So
right.
This is
We
extraordinary.
have very different styles.
Yeah, we have very different
But
styles.
I love this book.
Why did you?
Because number one, it's a memoir, and it's a memoir about keeping secrets and how secrets leave you in shame, and how once you are able to open up the aperture of your life experience and reveal that secret, then it's empowering to you. And I think this book is going to help so many other,
I do too.
particularly people who have suffered any kind of abuse or any kind of shame, reveal for themselves.
I know, Amy, let's bring you in this conversation. Number
Amy.
one, I love the title, The Tell.
The Tell.
Yeah, congrats. And the tell means so many different things to you. Tell us what it means specifically to you and why you want to tell the story now.
Now, well, first of all, thank you. This is such a surreal moment. It's so surreal to me because this has been such a long process in the telling. And there were so many tells both within my body and my brain and my mind and my relationships. And now to go through the process of writing the book is really what the story is all about. I'm able to share my truth, and it's so freeing to do so.
Mm-hmm. And your truth is what? I mean, we should lay it out so people understand. You were abused by a teacher. but you kept it secret for so long. Growing up with, tattletales don't tell, but also you really didn't remember all of the things that had happened to you.
It's not really a conscious choice. And
Yeah.
the way you write about your body showing signs of the unresolved trauma before your memories came back is fascinating.
I think there's that idea that secrets, you think they keep you safe, but really they keep you stuck. And this idea that I was really not able to let that go. I built up these walls and these castles and built these moats in my life to hold myself safe. And I thought that was what kept me safe. But really, it was only in the telling. It was in the sharing of my story and the processing of what had gone on and the unraveling of all of it that I'm able to live the life that I am now. And I feel so grateful to be able to do so.
One of the reasons this book struck me is because I've done had so many conversations over the years when I was doing the Oprah show. I think we had 251 conversations about sexual abuse, sexual assault. And
you were sexually abused yourself.
And I was, raped at the age of 9 and molested all the way through 14 and all of that, and was able to overcome that by revealing it. And what I've learned is that so many people do exactly what Amy Griffin did and talks about in her book, The Tell. They're trying to live this life of perfection.
Yes.
So the book starts out with Amy running. She was a great athlete, continues to be one, but running. And part of that running is running from the idea of this thing that had happened to her because she had grown up in this perfect family.
Yeah.
And so, when you live in this perfect environment, you don't want to have to admit to yourself that something's wrong. Isn't that what happened?
Absolutely. And I think the idea that when you let go of the control and when you realize that vulnerability is really the power that you have. And I feel like the vulnerability here has really given me, a new life in many ways that I've been able to tell this story, not from trying to hold on to control, not by trying to make everything look perfect, because we as women, we hold so much, like to be the perfect mother, the perfect sister, the perfect daughter, the perfect athlete. And when I've let that go, I think it's changed so much in my life, for sure, in my relationships in every form.
You write, in fact, that it was making you sick, keeping this secret. And then you write in the book, the only way to heal now was to speak out loud what had been done to me, to say it over and over again, as loud as I could, looking directly into someone else's eyes. That process, that epiphany that came to you, what was that like when you all of a sudden realized that you had to tell this story?
I think that really the word that I can think of is surrender. I surrendered to all of it. And in the telling, to first be honest with myself, and then go tell the story to my family and my friends. And every time I opened up and told the story, there was, a new freedom within me, and there was compassion with myself. It was the first time I'd given myself permission to do that. I had locked it all away. And I'm just really grateful that I did. I'm grateful that I leaned in to do that.
Well, we had this wonderful conversation. Oh, I have a podcast now, y'all.
Yes.
Sponsored by Starbucks. And we were at the Starbucks Roastery in Chicago, surrounded by all of these women
who had read the book.
Yes. And were so moved and empowered. And one of the most moving was a woman who said, after reading this book, I immediately called my daughters together. She had 3 daughters, and sat down with my daughters to talk to them about the Tell.
Yeah.
Because as you were saying before, Tony, before we started, what this means for people who have had sexual assault in their lives and passing that message on to their children in a way that empowers their children from not letting it
you
happen
have
to
very
them.
powerful moments in the book where you tell your children, your daughter in particular, she says, Mom, what's wrong? There's something, you don't seem like yourself. That this young girl
said, Mom, you're here, but you're not really here.
But you're not here, yeah.
I'm so grateful for that moment. That's the idea that my children were holding a mirror up to me, to myself, to say, Mom, you're here, but we want you to participate in our life in a way that maybe you're not. And the gift that really gave me in that moment was that my child was parenting me. And if I couldn't listen to that, then
she could tell that you were running from something, but you couldn't.
But you couldn't, yeah.
Yes.
And you were gonna shoot. You were holding off on writing the book at one point, looking for the perfect ending, right?
Yeah.
That's legal justice or finding other survivors. And you say you got past that. How? And so then, what is the ending for people?
Well, I think the thing for me is that I wrote this book first for myself on the bathroom floor, not knowing that anyone in the world would ever see it again. So it was really just for me. But then as I started writing, and now that I look back, there was this criminal investigation. It's a wild thriller of a ride that I went through, and thinking that if I could hold this person accountable, that would be the perfect ending. But in the process of writing the book, I realized the perfect ending was actually to go and investigate myself. And that was the only way that change was really going to happen.
Yeah, because he still has not been held accountable. He's still...
You know, and yes, he has not been held accountable, but I did everything I could to hold him accountable.
Yes.
And the thing I can say is, this is not his story.
Yeah,
It's
the
yours.
real tell is for you.
It's yours. It's
The real
yours.
tell.
It's
My
your
story.
book, and the book itself is the ending.
That's a very powerful line, Amy. This is not his story. I know, and I can see why it resonated with Oprah. So bravo, congrats.
Congratulations.
Congrats to
Congrats to
you.
you. Amy
I'm so
Griffin and
grateful.
Oprah Winfrey, we thank you both. People will be grateful after they read this book, too. She just revealed, as you know, her latest book club selection. Matriarch is the name of the book by the lovely Tina Knowles. It's a very personal memoir detailing Tina's life story from growing up in Texas during segregation to raising music superstars. That would be Beyonce and Solange, of course. Tina, we are so glad to have you in the studio. I've been waiting to talk for people to hear your story. But what was interesting to me reading the book, when I got to the part about the cancer, I called Oprah. I said, "You didn't say that Tina had cancer?" So when I read it, it was like being punched in the gut. You didn't reveal that, even when you're talking to people.
Because anytime anybody's going to read the book, I don't want to tell you what's in the book.
Yes.
I will tell you that when I first started reading the book, as we said earlier, I wasn't reading it as a book club selection, but because it is such a strong and powerful story. And what you did is what I think is so hard to do when you're writing a memoir, and that is to tell your story intimately, personally, but also make it universal so that everybody else who's reading it feels the depth of your story and thinks about their own story. And so I believe everybody who has a mother
Yes.
and everybody who is a mother
Yes.
is going to love this story because you're the ultimate matriarch, but you make it universal for everybody.
Exactly.
Thank you.
What is it like for you, Tina, this day that it's come out? Now people will hear about your news. They will hear about your life story. What is this day like for you?
It's it's a wonderful day. I mean, look what I'm starting off doing. You don't get better than this, but I still have a little anxiety. Because you're just putting it out into the world and to be really scrutinized and
Because
turned
people
over
will
and
have something.
regurgitated. They'll have
always,
something to say.
they will
no
always
matter
have
what.
something to
Yeah.
say. But what I'm fascinated about this book is because your family is notoriously private. How you were able to write this book and what you decided to include. Did you talk to them about it first? Did you say, this is what I'm thinking? What was that process
No,
like?
I didn't. I just gave each of them their parts of the book. And of course, I started off with 1,000 pages, so I had to take a lot of things out.
1,000 pages?
1,000 pages, and the publisher was like, nobody's gonna read a book that's 1,000 pages. You gotta take out
Especially
500
Gayle
pages.
King.
Right.
That's all she'd be saying is, do you realize this is 1,000 pages?
Right.
Hush, Oprah, hush.
So and so I just put the things in there, and I tried really hard to tell the stories without telling other people's stories, and that is really hard.
Yes.
You talked there about some of your anxiety, your nerves about the book, all of it being out there. What are your hopes, though? How do you hope people receive it?
I hope that people will, for one, be inspired by some of the stories of the things that I've overcome. And I also hope that people will do their family trees and get into their legacy and their ancestors, and because I didn't know my grandparents. So it was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, is to leave that for my grandchildren that I want, my great-grandchildren that I might not meet. And they'll have a story in my words and not someone else interpreting my story.
Tina, one of the things I find fascinating is oftentimes, even if you're close to your children, they may not know you. They may not know
that's
your
so true,
backstory,
Vlad.
right?
Yes.
You may have, and there are a lot of people who don't have close
They
relationships.
certainly don't know who you were as a young girl.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
100%. So one of the most fascinating details in the book is you chronicle your decades-long relationship and your marriage to the father of Beyonce and Solange, Matthew Knowles. And I want to know if they knew that you had this on-again, off-again relationship with him until they read the book.
Of course they did when they were older.
Yeah.
But when they were younger, they knew,
They didn't.
And there was a time that I separated, and, they were devastated because they were very young, and they never knew why, the real reasons why. And so it's a difficult thing until they're older, because you don't want to put that on a kid. So
You know, Tina and I did a podcast, as we do for the Oprah's Book Club, for Starbucks on YouTube.
Doesn't that come out today?
Yes, it's
today.
It's out right now on YouTube for Starbucks. And here's the thing that I love so much is that she knew early on, this is before people were sending their kids to therapy. She knew early on that the girls' relationship with each other needed to be balanced and talked about in a way that she didn't feel capable of doing completely herself. So she started sending them both to therapy at a very young age so that they could appreciate each other's talents. And I think one of the things you do so beautifully in Matriarch is you balance each girl's story.
Yes.
So it's not just all about Beyonce.
Yeah.
You say Solange is the word artist. I mean,
She's art.
she is art.
Yeah.
But what I liked too was hearing about your own personal life as a little girl. You know, there's some racism in the book. You know, your brother was attacked. Your father almost died, and to hear that you were arrested. Teeny B was your nickname because apparently you were quite a mouthy little girl.
I was a mouthy thing. Yeah.
The biggest surprise to me is that her name was Beyonce.
Yes,
That's where Beyonce,
her last name.
That your last name was Beyonce, and that's where Beyonce's name came from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I, as a little kid, I say all the time that my parents had me at 44 and they were tired by then. So I just got to talk back and, have my own opinions about things, and it really saved me.
Yeah.
And because if I hadn't had that mouth, I would have suffered greatly.
As a 44-year-old parent, I can confirm that
Of four.
of four. But I'm also interested in the commercial success of Destiny's Child and your hand in guiding that. I mean, that group to success, and even the name. Could you talk about that part of the book?
Yes, I did, because I put their picture in my NIV study Bible. And one day I opened it and it said Destiny, and I was like, that's the name.
That's the name.
And
Great
my
insight.
ex-husband added Child to it because it was already a group by that name.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
You talk about a complicated relationship with your mother in particular, but so when it came to you being a mother, you said motherhood was the best important job of your life and you wanted to get that right.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
Well, just because I was rebellious as a teenager, and just like I said, had a mouth on me, and sometimes my mouth got me in a lot of trouble. You know, I talk about going to jail on a motorcycle. My mouth got me there. So with my kids, I said, I got to control myself. I have to be deliberate and intentional, and I got to stop I got to keep it together because I have to give. I just didn't want to screw that up because I screwed some stuff up,
Don't you think Matriarch Oprah is such a good title for this? Because so many people wish you were the mother that they didn't have.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I was
Or
gonna say
they
it's
think
not just
of you.
the girls.
Yes.
It's not just Destiny's Child.
Yes.
It's the entire beehive that sees you as a mother.
As a mother.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I think that what she does is pay such great tribute to her mother and her grandmother. And you see very early on in the beginning of the book, because her mother was this incredible seamstress, and Johnny, and Johnny's role in your life. You were so close to him, and then the whole Renaissance thing is about Johnny.
Yeah.
And the fact that your mother was such a great seamstress, and now all of you all dress like your mother would have wanted you to dress.
Exactly.
And all of that is in the book. And guess what, Tina? We have a two-part interview with you tomorrow because it wasn't 1,000 pages, but we tried to get every drop out of this book. It's so good. And this one, it's a doozy. We sat down with Oprah and the author recently to talk about the novel that she says is one of the best books she's ever read. It's one of the best days here on CBS Mornings whenever Oprah drops by. You know it's going to be something good. She's here again to reveal her latest book club selection. Only on CBS Mornings. Wait, I have to move up since Vlad isn't here to do the drum roll. Come on, studio. Drum roll. Okay, Oprah.
Okay, drum roll. It's called The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong.
Ocean Vuong. It's the story. The Emperor of Gladness is an epic story about love and loneliness. It follows 19-year-old Hai, who develops a life-changing bond with an elderly widow who's suffering from dementia. So put the two of those characters together. New York Times bestselling author and award-winning poet Ocean Vuong is here. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Gail. Thank
Yeah.
you, Oprah. I'm really happy to be here.
First, I want to hear why you picked it, and then I want to know what it means to you that she did pick it. Why did you pick it?
I picked it because I thought that it was some of the most beautiful writing I've experienced in my lifetime. I think it's poetic literature, and I think that Ocean Vuong's ability to capture the essence of just ordinary people is like nobody I've ever experienced.
You always like those stories about
Yes.
regular people doing regular
people,
things.
and he's able to show the mastery and the extraordinariness in everybody's ordinary lives. When I tell everybody, would you just read the first chapter?
Yeah.
And if you read the first chapter, you're going to be hooked.
And then she calls you back and says, did you finish it yet?
Did you finish it yet? The hardest thing in the world is to live only once. That's the first line of this book.
Yes.
And it is followed by more beautiful words than I could even imagine in one story.
Oh.
That is what you do.
Before you talk about what it means to you to have been chosen, because I want to follow up on the line that Oprah just said, because it opens with the character, Hai, H-A-I, contemplating taking his own life. And you put that out there in the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, suicide is a very personal thing for me. My uncle took his own life in 2012. He was only 28 years old. I was 24, so he was like a big brother to me. And often in stories or news segments, we have the suicide at the edge of the bridge. And then when they come off that bridge, and God willing they do, we all clap, everything's back to normal. But I've always thought, what's happened for that person on day 2 of that decision?
Oh, yes.
Day 3, day 20.
Yes.
Wow, because their life still is in shambles.
And they did want to take their life. That's the big question. What
and
happens
their
on
life
day
still
2?
is in shambles.
Yeah.
And that's what you do so
Yeah.
beautifully in this story.
Then you have the two characters. Hai is very young, and then the grandmother in this story. The two of them end up together, and it's an unlikely duo, but it works.
Yeah.
The age difference, she has dementia.
She sees him on the bridge and she calls him back to life. And I think what I wanted to show is that sometimes you don't have a grand narrative that brings you back to meaningful life. Often what it is that you realize you're more useful to somebody else than you were ever useful to yourself. And the bond, the unfamiliar bond, is actually very formidable and familiar, because both in our society, both the young people and the very old have been pushed on the margins. So there's loneliness, massive amount of loneliness on both sides of that age spectrum. And in fact, when they come together, they realize, oh, we're in the same realm. We've been pushed outside of the frame, and we only have each other to make a life worth living.
When I first met you, you said something that so moved me. You said that I was saying these characters are unbelievable. And you said, I don't just create them, you stand with them.
Yeah.
You stand with the characters.
And you said you wanted every character to have their own dream, which
Yes.
was also true in the book.
That's very important to me. I think sometimes the way we're taught to write fiction is that the plot is supreme, that everybody has to serve the plot, like the plot is some kind of master. And I never believed in that. I felt that the plot should actually showcase people where they are.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give every character their own desire, their own dreams, however big or small.
Yeah.
Because when people get their own dreams, they get to be fully themselves.
He really is a walking, talking soundbite.
I know.
mean, everything you say, I want to write it down.
He's the most extraordinary, one of the most extraordinary human beings I've ever met is
Yeah,
Ocean Vuong. And
I
I will
get
say
it.
this, is that when we did a podcast for Starbucks that's on YouTube, and one of the things he said
Today,
to me
by
that
the way, yes.
still lives with me, he said that his mother always watched the Oprah show.
Oh.
His mother has had a nail salon in Connecticut, and he said many times there was just the three of us, my mother,
Are you one of the three?
myself, himself, and me.
You felt that kind of connection to
Yeah.
Oprah?
It's such an honor to me to have her pick the book, because, you know, where I come from, working class people, the act of reading could be very intimidating. Most of the clients in my mother's nail salon were working women, single mothers who didn't have second degrees, who only have high school education. And when I watched them, when they saw her book club show, they would get up from the chair with a different posture. And all of a sudden they say, I'm gonna walk across the strip mall, I'm gonna go to Barnes & Noble, I'm gonna get that book. Because what she gave them was she made the act of reading accessible. And I watched these women feel so empowered. And I think it opened up the possibility of reading for them in ways that they never would have gotten. And as a little boy, I didn't know I was gonna be a writer, but I think I saw that first. I said, I don't know what that is, books, but if it can change the posture of somebody's mother so that they can stand a little taller and walk across and get a book with that kind of confidence, because she gave him a ticket into the discourse. And that access means so much to me, especially as a first-generation immigrant, as a first generation to go to college, as an educator. It does the world.
And when you told your mother you were going to be an author, she associated that with, oh, you mean like on Oprah's Book Club? Yes, like on Oprah's
Your
Book
mother's no longer with us. What would she say today to see you that you are a member of Oprah's Book Club? You gave me goosebumps.
I hope she's proud of me. I hope she's seeing me somewhere. This is the only thing she would have recognized. You know, any literary prize, you know, I won. I called her up. She said, oh, that's nice, but this is the only thing that would be legible to her.
I'm so moved by that.
I am too.
I'm so moved
That's
by
one
that.
of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
May I say, those of you who are Ocean Vuong fans understand what a beautiful writer he is. If you haven't been introduced to him, he is one of America's greatest treasures as writers. I mean, it's one of the best books I've ever read.
Wow.
Treasure, not a word she throws around, I can tell you that. The Emperor of Gladness is on sale now. Check out cbsmornings.com for a reader's guide and a free excerpt from this book. And you can watch Ocean Vuong's conversation with Oprah on the Oprah podcast. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And we have to say this, if you or someone you know is seeking mental health resources, you can call the National Alliance on Mental Illness helpline at 1-800-950-6264. Going to repeat it again. 1-800-950-6264. Or in a crisis, call or text 988. Again, that number, 988. That, guys, was one of the most emotional book club selections we've done, and mainly because of Ocean's reaction. But it just shows you the power of reading and writing and what books mean to people.
Yeah.
And to him and his mom in particular.
Yeah, and the wisdom that can be in a novel. I mean, just that first sentence, right?
Yes,
the hardest thing to do is live only once.
Yes,
Beautiful.
He's a beautiful, beautiful writer.
Invitation into the discourse.
Yes.
So good.
Yes. Oprah, drum roll, please. What did you select?
Vlad usually gives you the drum roll.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
It's called The River is Waiting.
Woo!
Wally Lamb.
Okay.
Yay!
The River is Waiting is the story of Corby Ledbetter. He's a young and struggling stay-at-home dad to twin toddlers. I always wanted twins. He causes a tragedy that tears his family apart. So this book tracks Corby's journey through prison, where he witnesses acts of brutality and kindness, and how he hopes forgiveness might eventually be possible. We're happy to say that Wally Lamb has joined the conversation.
Wally Lamb!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, what makes this so extraordinary to me, Wally and to Oprah, because this is the third Wally Lamb book that you picked, and you normally don't have repeat authors. Why Wally?
Well, because Wally is such a profoundly outstanding magician of words, and also because when I started reading this story, Wally, I started to think immediately in the first chapter of real life stories that I'd done for so many years on the Oprah Show. And when we did the podcast with Starbucks in Seattle, I actually invited one of those people who had one of these tragedies to you know, it's life imitating art, imitating life, yes.
Exactly.
So Wally, what did you think when you got the call? Because now it's like you and Oprah are old pals. You've had conversations. Does your phone literally ring and it's Oprah again?
Yes, and
were you
this
doing?
is the third time, and it was just as shocking as the other two. I couldn't believe it, and yet I felt really comfortable because you know we had talked several times before,
Yes, yes.
And you have that gift of making people feel comfortable.
She does have that gift. But Nate had said something about emotions. Could we just show the picture? This is me reading the book. And the book, this picture could have been taken
Wow.
the beginning, the middle, or the end, Wally. That's how powerful the book is. It grabs you right away.
You're reading this you're on a plane?
I'm on a plane. I got so choked up that the flight attendant came and said, "Are you okay, Gail? Are you all right?" I go, "I'm just reading this book." And then you feel kind of foolish. But it tells you the power of words on a page to do. What did you want people to take away from this book?
Well, I, you know, when I'm writing the book, it's mine, and then when it's published, it goes out into the world, and it's not mine anymore. So I think that people should have the freedom to take what they want from it or what they might need from it, but I don't try to control that.
You don't.
Where did the story start, though?
Yeah.
Where did this story start?
It started with an article I read in the newspaper about these terrible backover accidents that happen, usually usually it's a small child who is behind the car, and usually it's the mom or dad who is thinking about something else, or can't see the kid in the back, and they'll back up. And
so it starts from it.
You know, this book is very layered, and there's a lot of themes. Guilt and parental responsibility. There's redemption and forgiveness. There's addiction, and I want to focus on that because the trauma is tied to the addiction. It can both drive it or be driven by it. What are some of the things that you want people to take away as they read this?
Well, that addiction is a black hole that you can get out of.
Can get out.
And just that that 12-step programs really work for people.
You all know Wally's worked with so many women in prison.
For 20 years.
That's why I was so surprised that this was a story about a guy, because I thought you would have had the woman go to prison instead of him, of a male. And I think so much was fueled by your experiences working with these women, teaching women in prison how to write their own stories.
Right. So I knew about the kind of stuff that goes on in prison from their stories.
Yeah.
But also one of the themes that I wanted to tackle was how men are different than women, and how a men's prison would be different than a woman's prison too. So that part I did a lot of research on.
Yeah.
And I learned new things like what the slang is in prison, at a guy's prison, and none of which I can say on air.
Yeah. I like all the Connecticut references. You're a Connecticut guy. I like all the Connecticut references in particular.
Yeah, we had that
common,
right?
I like that very much.
Oprah, you mentioned the podcast. You had a guest come on the podcast, the one that you did with Wally.
Yes.
Why did you invite that guest, and what was the intention?
Because as
who was she?
As Nate was just saying, this is about redemption and forgiveness, and when something really tragic happens in a family, can you be forgiven? And Teresa and her family represented not just a fictional version of what Wally has done, but they lived a very tragic experience where this woman was driving, fell asleep at the wheel, and killed 3 of her children.
They drowned.
Yes.
And she survived.
She survived, and also one of the daughters who was in the car survived and is now grown up and was with us on the podcast.
Yeah,
in Seattle.
it was unbelievable to me. And then I talked to them quite a bit after the podcast was over, and they're a phenomenal.
That they were able to forgive.
But that's part of the book.
Stayed with her husband.
Accepting mistakes.
Yeah, that is part of the book.
But I would have been Emily in this story. I would have been Emily. It would have been really hard.
I don't know how. I put myself in Emily.
Yeah.
Emily is a mom.
Yeah.
But Oprah, did you have a feeling how it was going to end? Because I had one thing in my mind about how I know it's going to, which I always like when it doesn't end the way I think. When you were reading it, did you think, oh, I know where this is going?
I never. And do not go to the last page.
Yes. Wally, did you know how it was going to end when you started the book? Did you know?
No, I never. I'm not that kind of a writer. I know some writers will outline the whole thing and then write toward a preconceived ending.
So did the ending surprise you, Wally?
It did, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when I started, there was no COVID.
Yes.
And that becomes important.
A part of the
story
story.
goes on.
Yeah.
And no, I don't love to write. I like to write some days when it's going well, and when it's not, I just feel like I owe it to the characters to show up at my desk and figure out what's going to happen to them.
Well, I appreciate it because it's a modern story that could happen to anybody.
Right.
The River is Waiting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really good title,
Wonderful.
too. The
Really
River's
is.
Waiting, very significant. We thank you both. It's time to reveal the newest selection from Oprah's book club, just in time for summer, so we are ready for it. She and the author stopped by to talk about it just before she left the country on vacation. Here's a look. We're excited to have Oprah, as in Winfrey, in our studio because she's back with another book club selection. Drum roll, please. Normally all of us are here, but it's just me, myself, and I. So come on, guys, drum roll.
I'm so excited.
Oprah, what is the book?
This is the summer read.
Yes, it
called
is.
Culpability by Bruce Holsinger. If you're looking for the summer read, this is it.
I really think that's a good way to describe it because Culpability is this, a gripping drama, and gripping is the word, about moral responsibility in the age of AI, because I'm still a little scared about AI. It's about a family whose self-driving minivan crashes into an oncoming car, and unfortunately, they killed an elderly couple. It's a family of 5, and all of them survive, and each family member must confront their role in this very deadly accident. It's so good, Bruce. Bruce and Oprah, good morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk about when she called you.
Oh.
Take us out. What happened? What were you doing? What happened? The phone rings and what?
I don't even know what I was doing. Ironing a shirt, maybe.
Okay.
And,
Oh, I
and the
love it when
phone
authors
rings.
iron their own shirts.
Yeah, I iron my own shirt.
Yes.
Absolutely. And,
Okay, so you pick up the phone.
pick up the phone, and she said, and I hear this voice, and it says, Bruce. And I said, yes. And she says, it's Oprah. And I first of all, I think it's AI generated.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Especially after
And-
this book, yes.
Yeah, and then so I freeze, and I said, oh, and she says Oprah Winfrey.
As opposed to Oprah Jefferson.
Yeah, but I wish I remembered every detail after that, but I don't. But it was just, I was shaking.
I think I said something.
And then
like-
what did you say?
I said, culpability.
I'll bet you did.
I'm calling about culpability.
I know, Bruce, it's so good. Oprah always picks very good books, but sometimes the books are not for me, but they're always very good books. But this one, I just thought, God, I love it. Number one, it should be a frickin' movie. That's number one. But number two, why did you pick it?
I picked it because it is so prescient.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
prescient, it is right now, and it is also the future. And as life would have it, I had just been to one of those tech conferences, and I had seen a demonstration of Waymo,
Yes.
the driverless self-driving
yes.
cars, and in San
Did you
Francisco.
get in one of them?
No, I did not get in one of them. I just saw the demonstration. And then the next day, I get this book. So I
Wow.
thought, and I just found it fascinating, but also because what happens to the family in Culpability could be any family.
Yeah. But what I like about it, the son is behind the wheel. The
Yes,
son,
Charlie.
Charlie.
18-year-old, good-looking, athletic, getting ready to start
This
his
is a
college career.
typical great American
That's what I
family.
think is so
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's behind the wheel, but he's not driving.
But he's not driving. But he's not. But because it's a self-driving car, and
Yeah,
they
it's
have
in
all the
self-driving
bells and whistles.
mode.
It's interesting how all 5 of them think that they are culpable for this accident.
That's why
How
it's
did you
called
come up with that?
Culpability.
Yes, I love the title. But where did you come up with that premise?
Well, I wanted to think in general about artificial intelligence and what it's doing to our sense
Yes.
of moral responsibility, how it's taking away our autonomy, how it's affecting our lives in so many different ways. And so Lorelei, you know, the mom
wife,
in this
yeah.
family,
Yes.
the mom and wife, she's also a world leader in the field of
Yes.
artificial intelligence. She's a MacArthur Genius Award winner.
Yes.
And
She's a badass. She's smart. The husband is no slouch either. He's a lawyer.
right.
I know, but he feels inferior because the family has made him feel
Exactly,
that way.
and
I mean,
he's had
that's
to
why it's
scrap
such.
it.
It's
Yeah.
so. It's such an American family story.
Yeah.
You know what else I like what you did? I don't know why, but when the chapters are shorter, I can read it faster. Can you, Oprah?
Yes.
As opposed to, I don't know why that is.
Because you're feeling so accomplished. You're feeling
Okay,
like,
yeah, because I
end of
think
another chapter.
I can get in a couple of. Did you do that on purpose?
I did do that on purpose, and I love short chapters. I love.
I do too.
You know, in this case, it's only one narrator. It's Noah, the
Yeah, it's
dad,
Noah, yeah.
is telling the story in first person. And in most of my novels, I've done multiple points of view, longer chapters. This one, I really wanted to experiment. I was trying to make it more suspenseful, so it would
mission
really roll
accomplished.
along
Yeah.
just like the
So
car.
suspenseful. May I say,
Yes.
do not, under any circumstances, cut to the end.
Yes.
'Cause the
No, you
end-
don't wanna-
The
No,
end is going to shock you no matter what.
The whole time she kept saying, it's not going to end the way you think it is. It's not going to end the way you think. You're not going to believe the ending.
You're not gonna believe the ending.
Because I had some thoughts about the ending, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
didn't. It didn't. But also the cast of characters. You have a billionaire tech guy.
Yes,
And then one of the daughters is talking to a, what do you call those AI friends?
a bot, a
A
chatbot.
yes.
Yeah.
Talking to one of those people. I mean, it just incorporated so many things that are happening in our world today.
And notice that you just called the chatbot people, right? And that's one of the pitfalls
Oh, no.
of artificial intelligence.
Did I
You
say
start,
people?
yes, you think he gets a person.
Yeah, you
Did I
know,
say
we
people?
we turn these things into people. We think
no.
that they have human attributes, right?
I'm blaming you
we
for that.
personify. Yeah, don't blame me.
It is interesting, I said
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Bruce, it's so well done.
Thank you
Good
so
on
much.
you. Bravo.
Thank
Bravo,
you.
Bruce.
Here's a look at our conversation with Oprah and the author. Only on CBS Mornings, and you know we love when this happens. Oprah, there's only one. You don't even have to say her last name.
Thank you.
Is here to reveal her newest book club selection. We always like to... Drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Okay, Oprah, and you've chosen...
Bridge of Sighs by Richard Russo. Richard Russo.
I'll just say
Pulitzer
this
Prize
about-
winning Richard Russo.
He is a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel of Empire Falls. A lot of you all remember that one. Bridge of Sighs is this, set in a small town in upstate New York where Lou and his longtime wife Sarah plan a trip to Venice. I like how that's starting. They want to reunite with their old friend Bobby, who left their hometown to become a painter in Italy. New York Times bestselling author, we're happy to say Richard Russo and Oprah are here in the studio. Congratulations to you, Rick Russo.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have to start with this because in the whole time of Oprah's book club, this has never happened. Where she has called,
never happened.
and it's happened to you, where she has called an author, and 6 minutes in, the author says, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name." Where she started the conversation with, "Hi, it's Oprah." Would you just take us to that moment, how you didn't know who you were talking to?
Well, the lie that I was told was that
Not
I was
by me. I didn't tell you the lie.
I didn't point any fingers.
Yeah.
The lie that was told to me was that I was going to be talking with someone from Publishers Weekly about a new book of essays that I had coming out. And whoever was making the introductions, somehow or other, I came in late. So I didn't know who I was talking to. And it completely baffled me because whoever this woman was, she kept wanting to talk about a 20-year-old novel of mine called Bridge of Sighs.
Yes, and you're like, why aren't we talking about my new book?
I kept trying to get this person onto the subject that we were supposed to be, and she just wouldn't budge.
I wouldn't budge. At one point you were saying, but my new book, and I said, I don't care anything about that.
I
don't care anything about that. I want to talk about Bridge of Sighs.
Send us your name.
It's Oprah. Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
Yes. It's Oprah.
Yes, okay, all right.
The book is very layered. Oprah, why did you choose? Because to his point, it is a 20-year-old book.
Well,
That's not normally what you do.
I chose it because, first of all, I really appreciate Richard Russo's writing. Obviously, I read Empire Falls back in 2002 when it was a Pulitzer Prize winner. And I love stories about small towns.
Yeah. Yes.
And having grown up in a small town, I have a real affinity for it. And also, having grown up, the story, as you mentioned, is centered around Lucy and his wife, Sarah, who own a store called Eichel's. And I, as you know, grew up in Nashville with my father and the E&W market. E was Mr. Eddings and W was my father.
Yeah.
And I had to work in the E&W market, which was
And you worked in the store.
And I worked in the store for free.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
For all those years.
Was this a difficult book for you to write because Lou is married to Sarah and they have a friend, Bobby? Was this a difficult book for you to write?
This was the most difficult of all of my novels to write.
Because?
There were so many moving parts.
Yes.
Lots of characters, probably more characters than in any of the other books
Yes, I would agree.
that I've written.
I would agree.
My usual focus, because of who I am and where I grew up, I view the world through the lens of place and class.
Yeah.
That's just because that's the guiding principles of my lived experience in life is through place and class. This book pulls back a little bit, and race becomes a subject, a serious subject. I mean, I've written black characters before. In a major black character in my second novel, Wussy was black. But this book, by pulling back the camera, if you will, opened up a number of possibilities to look at America through my usual place and class, but also to a certain extent through race.
The race.
Yeah. And what I saw was that Lou, when Lou's interactions with other people in the community that were not white people, Gabriel and Gabriel's son, he was looking at it from his point of view, what he felt, what he saw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, yes.
Exactly.
It's also a book about destiny, I thought, too. And what happens to your destiny, and is your destiny preordained? Did you look at it from that lens too, Oprah, about destiny?
Well, yes, because you know what it made me think about? what would have happened if I'd stayed at the E&W market?
Yeah.
Because that is what happened to the characters in this story. They stayed, and the one character, Marconi, left and became this great famous artist. But what would have happened if I'd stayed at the E&W market?
Now, you know, back in 2006, I'm just curious to get your thoughts about this. One criticism was the portrayal of black characters. Critics said that the characters were stiff and half-formed and often speak like stock characters. When you think about that in a 2025 lens, is that something you think about, or is that something you dwell on, or did you even understand or were aware of the controversy?
I wasn't aware of the controversy at all. Kind of surprised when it came up. There's almost, for a writer, there's almost no good way to respond to a comment like that, in the sense that you certainly don't want to be defensive. You don't want to say, oh, no, I'm much better at that than people give me credit for.
Yes.
I don't see the margin in that at all. What I think it's about is that if you are a male writer, then anytime you're writing from the point of view of a woman, you're stepping out of your lived experience. You're trying to live somebody else's life. Empathetically, and so when you step out of your own lived experience to become a woman, I mean, one of my favorite characters in all of my work is Sister Ursula in a story of mine called The Horse Child. Sister Ursula is an 80-year-old Belgian nun. Now, what business do I have, really, writing? I'm never gonna be a nun. I'm never gonna be a woman. I'm never gonna be a nun. I'd never even been to Belgium when I wrote that book. What earthly business do I have? And the only reason is I just loved her.
Yeah.
And reading, one of the things that I so enjoyed about reading Bridge of Sighs again was that reading it 20 years after I wrote it.
Because you read it after I called you.
Yes, I had to. I didn't remember that much about it.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is to sound arrogant here about this, but reading the book, I could read it almost as if someone else had written it.
Yeah.
And I was able to love these characters all over again that I had loved 20 years ago.
Oprah, what is the book?
The book is...
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please. Elizabeth Gilbert, All the Way to the River by Elizabeth Gilbert.
No.
The Elizabeth Gilbert.
I was going to say, we all know Elizabeth Gilbert from back in the day, the best-selling author. Who didn't read these books? 8 previous books, by the way, including, thank you, Eat, Pray, Love. Her new memoir, All the Way to the River, shares her tragic love story, tragic is a word here, with her best friend turned romantic partner, Rhea, like a ray of sunshine, Elias. When Elias was diagnosed with terminal cancer and reverses into severe drug addiction, Elizabeth is forced to confront her own traumas and addictions as they navigate the dramatic final months of her life and the life-changing aftermath for Elizabeth. It's so good to see you again, Elizabeth Gilbert, because I remember you back in the day.
It's so good to see you.
Yes, we're really glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
This is a very, very different book for you, we have to say. And at one point on page 9 where you say, who in life hasn't asked the question, how the hell did I get here? This isn't just a book about people caught up with addictions. It's also a book about people, despite their best efforts to live a sane and stable life, they get caught up in drama and trauma. So for you, Oprah, first question, how did you pick this book? Because I think it was a surprising choice to me for you.
Well, it wasn't surprising to me because the moment I started reading All the Way to the River, first of all, I love the title because it's about All the Way to the River represents who will go with you all the way to the river.
Yeah.
And you are one of my all the way to the river.
Ride or die, yes.
Yeah.
All the way
I
to
feel
the
the same
river
about you too, yes.
And so what was so astounding to me about this book is because I was of the era of Eat, Pray, Love. I remember being absolutely giddy the very first time I interviewed you on the Oprah show for Eat, Pray, Love. And I thought this woman had it all figured out.
Yes.
And then you read just the opening pages of this book and you realize she didn't have it all figured out. And as you go through the book, she's so brave, revealing all of these things that we were just talking in the back.
Like what?
Like most of us would have kept to ourselves.
Yes.
like she is helping her partner die and being the caregiver that so many of you are out there, but comes to the realization that she really wants to kill her.
Yes.
And most people would not admit that I'm taking care of you and it's become so overwhelming that I now actually want to kill you.
No, Elizabeth, you're right. Rhea was addicted to drugs, but you were addicted to people. You talk about a love and sex addiction that you have.
Yeah. First of all, thank you.
Let's
just go right into it. It's like,
yes.
Yeah, I was saying to Oprah before, this book hits different.
Yes,
it does.
Very
and I
different.
think it will take a lot of people by surprise, in the same way that this story took me by surprise while I was in it, because I certainly did not expect this book or this story to go in the direction that it did, into all the drama and trauma that's discussed. And it is a book about the ways that we get washed up on these shores of like islands so distant from who we thought we were, and what pain and suffering can do to us, even the strongest of us, even the most compassionate of us. And the thing that I discovered in this book, Rhea had been a drug addict in recovery for many years, and when she got cancer, she went back into her drug addiction. That was the part she wasn't expecting, and that was the part I wasn't expecting that pushed both of us to the breaking point. But the word codependency is so useful here because the prefix co is built right into it. Like, we co-created the drama that we were in. She with her
Did you know you were doing that? Did you know you were creating the drama between the two?
Yeah. No. All I was doing was what I always do, which is empty myself into somebody who I love, because that's what I was taught love is.
Yeah.
You
and
deplete
this is why
yourself
this book
completely.
this is why I believe this book is going to be so freeing for so many people who read it, because I think we don't even have the language to describe what that codependency looks like. And there are so many people watching us right now who are in relationship after relationship after relationship where they have given themselves away, they have given their power away. They don't call it love addiction.
Yes.
They call it just looking for somebody to be with. They call it looking for love. They call it, fulfilling their dreams. But so many people have done what she has done, but don't even have the language to describe it.
And I feel like it's a public service to talk about it openly. And I feel like that's sort of my role as a writer and in this culture is I volunteer to be the one who goes through these things and then processes it, heals, and then brings the story out for others.
Oprah and Elizabeth Gilbert, we thank you. We're excited to reveal this month's selection for Oprah's Book Club. We recently sat down for a discussion with Oprah and the author.
The book is A Guardian and a Thief by Megha Majumdar. I have never read a book quite like this.
I agree.
And you agree.
I agree. Megha Majumdar, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Megha.
First, start us off. How did you get the news, and what did you think?
It's one of my favorite calls ever.
No, but so you pick up the phone. She said, "Hi, this is Oprah." Was it like that?
No, she said, "Hi, who is this?" And I said, Oprah. But anyway, on through the call, she's just like, is this really you? Is this a joke? Is this a prank? And I was starting to talk about the book. And then at one point, it was so endearing. You said, what a wild thing to happen in a day. What a wild thing. What a wild thing to happen in a day.
Yeah.
You calling me, yes.
It's why I didn't believe it, because it was completely outside the context of my life.
Yes.
A call from Oprah.
Yes.
Yes.
Why did you choose it?
I chose it because I thought when I started the book, I knew who the guardian and the thief were. You think, oh, he's the guardian, she's the thief, or
I thought that
she's
too.
the thief, and she's the guardian. And then the way you perceive the story changes in the middle of the story. One of the things I like so much, and we did a podcast for Starbucks, and one of the things I love so much that you said in that podcast is that you use fiction to really put a mirror on what humanity is. How we all think we know our moral center.
Yes.
I think I know your moral center.
Yes.
I think
You do.
Yes, and I think I know mine.
Yes.
But what would you do in the midst of a famine? What would you do in the midst of a crisis if you had to take care of your child, your grandchild? Would you hold on to your center?
What was the story that you wanted to tell?
I wanted to think about what hope and love will look like in a time of climate crisis. What will it mean to love our children with ferocity and vigor in a time of scarcity? And what will happen when our love for our children clashes with the love that we have for our neighbors, our community, when our individual acts of hope come up against collective acts of hope?
Let's talk about the crux of what the story is about.
So, A Guardian and a Thief is a novel which is set in my hometown of Kolkata, India, and it follows two families who are each seeking to protect their own children.
Yes.
In the middle of a food shortage, in the middle of extreme climate change, and they find that this love for their children brings them into conflict with each other.
And there's also many times in the book where the people are not telling the truth, and I struggled with that.
One of the characters is trying to get to America.
Yes.
And she keeps lying to her husband when things are going wrong, and she's not able to get the passports or not get, the visas or not get clearances.
To say that everything is coming.
And she tells him that everything is okay. And that's one of the things I said in our phone call. Why did she keep lying to her husband? And you said...
I said that this comes out of my experience being an immigrant. I moved from India to the US when I was 19 to go to college, and in phone calls home to my parents, I often hid how difficult things were.
So you would say everything was fine?
Yeah, I would say things were fine. I felt
Especially to your parents to say, God, this is hard. I'm having a tough time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we talked about, is it's two different ways of thinking about love, right?
Yes.
One is you ask for help, and one is...
You try to protect them.
You try to protect them.
I will say, too, that you shared with me during our podcast that you changed, the way you saw this story changed after you had your first son, your first child. Yes.
How so?
For a while, I was in this world of climate change in Kolkata, but my main character was a child of 10 or 11 years old, and I had a completely different story. And it wasn't working. The book was not working. Then I had my older son in 2021, and I became so curious about the mother. Who is this child's mother? What will she do
Mothers
to
play
protect
a key
this
role
child?
in this, many times, yes.
And it became so much about the ferocity of that love that parents and guardians have for children.
Yeah. I will say to you what Quincy Jones said to me when we first did The Color Purple. Your future's so bright it burns my eyes.
Burns my eyes.
Burns my eyes.
Thank you so much.
We need sunglasses
so
talking to you.
Yeah, your future's so bright.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
I am so grateful. Thank you.
The one and only Oprah's here to reveal. We love this when this happens. Her latest book club selection only on CBS. Drum roll, please. This is all we can do. We're a high-class operation.
Okay, it's
Oprah's here.
called
What is it?
Some Bright Nowhere by Ann Packer.
Ann Packer, we should say, is the New York Times best-selling author, thank you very much, of 5 novels, including 5 novels, catch that, The Children's Crusade. Some Bright Nowhere is here. Is her first novel, though, in more than a decade. What took you so long, Ed? It's an intimate story about marriage, family, and friendships, which follows Elliot and his wife, Claire, who's living with cancer. Claire makes a very unusual request of her husband that puts their marriage of nearly 40 years to the test. Ann Packer joins us now. Good morning to you, Ann.
Good morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. What a thrill.
And you've got the Oprah O on your necklace there.
So, Oprah, tell us what the request was and why this
Well,
like
listen, when I called Ann, I was like, Ann, I'm choosing this book because I'm fascinated by the theme, but I'm very annoyed by the lead character.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I'm very annoyed, but I'm choosing it anyway.
Because what did she want her husband to do? Claire's been diagnosed with cancer, and it's very terminal. And what does she want?
Well, she's at the end of 8.5 years of being ill, and she's in the terminal phase. She's entering hospice, and she's decided that she'd like her 2 closest women friends to come take care of her instead of her husband, and for him to move out.
But puts her husband out.
Yes. That's what I didn't like, because I thought Elliot was such a good guy. And then I found myself mad at Claire and her friends. But is this a thing? That's what I was wondering.
One of the reasons I was so interested in the story is one of my producers had said to me, in her community, in Chicago, a lot of women are doing this, that a lot of women, that this is like a trend. And I went, it's a trend? This is real? It reads like a real story.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad for that.
Yeah.
When I first heard about this happening, it was almost 20 years ago. And it was just sort of someone mentioning, oh, there's this woman and this happened. And I just went, wow, what? And I got like the idea, the sort of appeal of women taking care of women.
But I couldn't figure out, Anne, why they couldn't all do it together. That was what was so upsetting to me.
Yeah,
and the way
exactly.
Elliot was portrayed as someone who was a good husband.
But I also feel like if you're in your dying days, you get to do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. What does it make you think about the obligations of marriage, though, in both directions?
Yeah.
Right, because a lot of people who have read the book have been like, how could he just say yes? How could he go ahead and leave? And for me, the question is, the dying wish is sort of paramount. Like, you're not going to allow your spouse to have that kind of death that they're telling you they want to have.
I know, Oprah, I got hung up a dying wish, so of course she should get it. And then I got mad because I didn't think that was fair. Why couldn't the husband and the friends all do it together, Anne?
Well, there wouldn't be a book.
Well, and you originally, you were going to write it from different perspectives, and you decided to deeply focus on Elliot's point of
the
view.
husband's perspective,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Why did you make that choice?
Well, what happened was I had heard about this back in like 2006 maybe, and it kind of nagged at me, and I kept worrying about the husband. So I thought, let me see if I can develop a novel out of this. And I had recently been working in multiple points of view, and so I thought, that's what I'll do here. And I wrote, I don't know, 10 pages from the point of view of the wife, and then I moved on to one of the friends, and I did another 20 pages. And I was like, gotta get to that husband. That's where this is headed. That's what's interesting. And I just couldn't find my way into the work I had to do to get to his point of view.
Right.
So I set it aside, and I was mulling it over, like, why is that more compelling? And then it hit me, it's his story. The whole book is his point of view. Yeah.
What do you love most, Oprah, about Anne's writing?
Well, I love that it, as I just said, that it feels like it's a true story, that it's, you know you're reading a novel, but it feels like the people are really real.
Yeah, I actually called her and said, did this really happen?
Did this really happen?
Yes.
Yeah, it did really happen in this story, Some Bright Nowhere. Some Bright Nowhere. And what I loved is we did, obviously, I'm doing these podcasts sponsored by Starbucks, and we had a whole audience of people who've experienced this. So many people are going through this. We had a husband whose wife asked him to leave. He left. She gets another boyfriend.
What?
And he ends up, he ends up taking care of her. So, I mean, yes, it's very real.
I'm not leaving, Katie. I'm not leaving. Not leaving.
Oprah and Ann Packer,
All right.
we thank you. Give people a lot to think about. Very well done. Very well done.
I love the title, too, Some Bright Nowhere.
Some Bright Nowhere.
It comes from a beautiful poem by the poet Christian Wyman.
All right.
Beautiful phrase.
Yeah, lovely phrase.